But I saw an interesting piece of news involving our old buddy, Coach Prime, yes, Deion Sanders, and the Colorado Buffaloes. And it's interesting because obviously we haven't talked much Colorado here over the last week. Colorado has been on its bye. And it is worth noting, by the way, if you missed it on Saturday, I did a reaction to Colorado getting a high 4-star, fringe 5-star quarterback in the class of 2025, Antoine Hill Jr. So go back and react to it, or go back and check that out. Coach Prime obviously staying busy during the bye. But why I bring it up is that it is an interesting kind of moment in time for both Coach Prime and his first Colorado Buffaloes team. I think we can all agree the team to this point has exceeded expectations. The Vegas over-under win total was 3.5. Most of the money came in on the under in the preseason. So to sit at 4-3 coming out of the bye, there's no doubt that this team, this program, whatever you want to call it, is ahead of schedule, especially after all the offseason noise of, he's bringing in all these new players and what does it mean and can it work? Well, it's working. But I think we can also agree that probably the last 2 or 3 weeks, while everything's working, it hasn't worked necessarily at the highest level. Colorado starts 3-0. From there, they are 1-3. The only game they win is against Arizona State in a game where Coach Prime said, we play like hot garbage. And then, of course, came that Stanford game just a few weeks ago. You blow a 29-point lead. Yes, that's correct. And you could tell there was frustration from Coach Prime after that game. He just went off. And I thought he gave an incredible post-game speech about, we got to get dudes in this locker room who love football, not like it. Saw a lot of players, including Travis Hunter, react to it. But the point I'm trying to make is they went into a bye a little bit on a down note. But the great thing about going into a bye is it's a chance for everybody to recharge, figure out what's working, what isn't, etc. And so I found it very interesting that on late Saturday night into Sunday, Reach the People Media, one of the great media outlets that covers this program on a day-to-day basis, they released a little clip with Coach Prime, and he kind of set the tone for what he expects when his team reported back to campus this week. Here is what Coach Prime said in that clip. He said, we'll practice on Sunday, so they'll have to be back Saturday night. They know if they're a minute late, their locker will be cleaned out. If they're a minute late, their locker will be cleaned out. So first of all, shout out to Coach Prime, because I love this. And I know everybody wants to criticize and overreact and this and that to everything that he does and everything that he says. But the one thing that I continue to go back with Coach Prime, I think he's handled himself about as well as he can in year one at the highest level of college football. I do think over the course of the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, as the team had more success, as the program got more notoriety, I do think a little bit of entitlement did creep into the program. And we talked about this after the Stanford game. If you just listen to what Coach Prime had to say for about 2 or 3 weeks, he's been trying to warn you, I don't love the energy in this locker room. He said it before the Oregon game. He said, guys, I know we're 3-0, but you got to focus on your brother next to you, not the people on the outside of this program. After they lost to Oregon, he kind of had what he had to say. USC was mostly a positive. You rally, you have a chance to win that one late. And then the Arizona Stanford stuff that we just talked about. But the point I'm trying to make, this is a guy that has been in the spotlight forever. He understands what it takes, and he can be Coach Prime and still focus on the task at hand. And I think that he let me rephrase this. It's not that I think he had problems in the locker room, but I do think he was trying to figure out, and I think he spent a lot of that bye week trying to figure out, how do I get my guys to focus the way that I am? I can handle this. I've been doing this since I was 17, 18, 19 years old. I'm in my 50s now. These kids are 17, 18, 19 years old, and I don't know that they know how to handle it. Now I'm talking about me as opposed to him. Thank you, everybody, as always, for your support of the Aaron Torres Pod and Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. And we have a major announcement, as legal sports betting is now in the state of Kentucky. That is right. The Aaron Torres Pod and Aaron Torres Pod YouTube has partnered with DraftKings Sportsbook and the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And here is the best part. DraftKings has an incredible offer for listeners of the Aaron Torres Pod who are first-time customers with DraftKings. This is the deal. Here's what you need to know. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Bet $5 on any game, just $5, and you get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use the promo code Torres. That's right. It's that simple. Again, first-time customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, bet $5 on any game, pro, college, any sport you want, and get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use the code Torres. Thank you to our new partners, DraftKings Sportsbook. Thrilled to be working with them. Take advantage of their offer now. But I bring it up because if you just listen to what he said, you can tell that there's been some stuff going on in that locker room that needs some cleaning up. About 2-3 weeks ago, we had the whole Cormani McClain situation. Coach Prime was kind of asked before that USC game, hey, Travis Hunter's out. Is Cormani going to play? And Coach Prime said no. He said he's got to focus on his school. He's got to focus on getting here on time. He's got to focus on being prepared. And you could tell that very publicly set Cormani McClain straight. But at the time, it was, immaturity stuff, which 18, 19 years old, we all were part of it. I know that I was immature at that age, but we had that incident. I don't know if you caught this during the bye, but Coach Prime was asked about Juwan Mitchell, who had been a very productive player for them early in the season, had not played the last 2 weeks against Arizona State and against Stanford. Multiple, I think he's like a 6th-year guy, played at Tennessee, played at Arizona State, whatever. But Coach Prime was asked about him as well. Did you see what he said about Juwan Mitchell a few days ago when he was asked about him? He said, let me see if I can find the quote here. Let's make sure I have the right quote. He was asked about him, and he said, ask him what happened. Next guy. In other words, you now have not just the young guys, but you have some other guys in the locker room that aren't doing what is expected of them. And so I bring it all up. I talk about all this to very simply say, I believe that a new tone has been set in that locker room. And like I said, I believe that Coach Prime used that bye week to reset everything. Okay, what's working? What's going well? And by the way, not just on the field, not just on the practice field, but behind the scenes, in the locker room, in the community, in the classroom. Who's doing what they need to do, and how can we press forward with those guys, and who's not doing what they need to do, and how can we reset the standard of what is expected? Again, we talked about it after the Arizona State game. He said, we played like hot garbage. That is unacceptable. And the point that he was trying to make is, and I talked about it at the time, it's almost like a Bill Belichick, Nick Saban, the standard is the standard. The standard isn't winning at this place. The standard is we are going to get the most out of everyone in this building every single day. And so I'm going in a lot of different directions. Forgive me. I apologize. But it doesn't change the fact that I love this attitude, and I am so curious to see what this program looks like over the next 4 or 5 weeks as we end the regular season. One, I expect a refocused, redisciplined group on the field, because clearly behind the scenes, the standard is being set. If you're not on time, if you're not prepared, if you're not being responsible, if you're not doing what you need to do away from the facility, don't expect to step on that field Saturday. Expect a refocused group. It's unfortunate, by the way, they're playing at UCLA this weekend. For people who do not know my background, I live not far from the Rose Bowl. Very blessed to host Fox Sports Radio on Saturday night, so I will not be able to get to that game. But I just bring it up to just say, like, I just sit there and say, I think we're going to see a refocused group coming out, and they're going to have to be, because the schedule is tough. 5 games left, 3 against teams that are currently ranked. Utah, UCLA, I believe Oregon State is the other one. And then there are 2 other wins. Arizona is really good right now. Washington State is good. But I expect some refocus. And then I'll tell you this, and I've said this many times, fascinating to see what offseason recruiting looks like. Because last offseason, they bring in 60, 70, 80 new guys, whatever it was. I think we get not quite that many, but I think we get a lot. I think, again, the standard was set before the bye. This is the expectation. This is what you need to do. These are the expectations of what you need to do to be in this program. And I believe Coach Prime has his core group of guys, the Shedeur Sanderses, the Travis Hunters, the Jimmy Horns, the Xavier Weavers, guys like that. But I believe there's a lot of guys that have been enjoying the limelight that comes with playing for Coach Prime. And he's going to say, you got to take a hike. We got to get some new people in here. So it's going to be a fascinating couple weeks, but I love the tone being set out of the bye. 4-3 isn't good enough. The 1-3 before the bye, that is not the standard that we have. Blowing 29-point leads is not acceptable. I think we get the best performance we've seen from Colorado since TCU when they play at UCLA next week at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. For anyone in LA going, I hope you enjoy yourselves. Wish I could be there with you. Do me a quick favor. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and click that subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter at Aaron_Torres, on Instagram at Aaron Torres Pod. Thank you for your support. Subscribe, follow, and download new episodes of the Aaron Torres podcast.